Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2023 Microsoft Healthcare WMS Demo Solutioning Session. We'll start in about a minute. Let people trickle in, and then we'll get started.
Again, and we'll get going. So James, over to you.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the 2023 Microsoft Healthcare WMS Demo Solutioning Session with Armanino and Microsoft. I'm going to go ahead and start the introduction. So my name is James Cox. I'm one of the pre-sale solution architects on the team. I've been in consulting for over 11 years now. Been working with AX09, D365, and AX 2012. In 2015, when the WMS solution was purchased and released by Microsoft, I did my first implementation that year, so I've been implementing the WMS solution since then. I'll go ahead and pass it to Alex.
Thanks, James. Hey, everybody. My name is Alex Fredrickson. I'm on the Armanino team as well, one of the solution architects working with Dynamics 365 CE applications, as well as the Power Platform, which we'll talk about today.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Lees. I am a technology specialist for Microsoft. Work with our Dynamics 365 finance and supply chain product offering. A background in engineering, about 15 years in various roles from engineering up to operations management, but I've been working with our Tier 1 ERP offering for about the last 10 years, specifically with our warehouse and manufacturing side of the product. So happy to be here today.
Yep, and finally, I'm John Elliott from Microsoft. I'm a principal technology specialist. I work with our warehouse management solution, and I've spent some time running 3PLs for materials management in the healthcare industry. So I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Where we want to start today is kind of talking about the warehouse management solution and how it's designed and what it can be used for. So the first thing to understand is that the advanced warehouse solution is built within the D365 platform. So that means it's integrated with all the other business processes. It's a query-based WMS solution, so that means you can set up unique rules for every different business process. Maybe those queries are built against the customers, the vendors, the items, or the attributes of items, and you're going to build out your rule set from there. What's intended to do is maximize user productivity and reduce user decision-making, right? So the system wants to direct the user where they need to go for their next pick, where they need to go for their next put away, what item they should be picking, etc. Now, the great thing about the WMS solution is it can be implemented quickly with very broad rules. So you could kind of take this as a crawl, walk, run approach in a WMS implementation. Or if you already have business processes defined with specific rule sets, it can be tailored to that as well, right? So we can build out all the different rules by business process for however you need to do that. So with it being a query-based system, what's really nice about it being integrated across the platform is you can do advanced queries across multiple tables. So you can join back to the customer table and looking for some value there. You can join back to the vendor table looking for some value there, and then set up your rule set about that. What's also really nice is it has a dedicated WMS app that's built into the platform, so it can actually support any kind of barcode scanning. What's really nice about this app is it's completely configurable and flexible, so each implementation can be set up differently. So if you need to have specific rules for specific users about what menu items they can go to, we can build that into the WMS app. Obviously, it supports inbound and outbound distribution and logistics, so there is an integrated TMS module as well, but it also supports all your general inventory practice movements. So what that could be is cycle counting, replenishment, slotting, all that's built within the platform. But also another nice win is the fact that it's integrated with the production control process too. So any kind of discrete manufacturing, process manufacturing, or lean manufacturing is supported as well. All right. So over the last few years, Microsoft has really built this platform out to be a tier 1 competitive WMS solution. But the best part is you don't need an interface, right? So if you're working with a Manhattan or Corber or Softion, you have to have an interface between the ERP and that system. So that means you have to keep both systems in sync for orders, in sync for inventory. You've got two technology stacks, possibly two different partners that you're working with two different types of support contracts, a much larger IT team that's supporting both solutions. But if you have the D365 WMS, it's all integrated in one solution. So that reduces the complexity and removes a lot of those variables. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's integrated across all inventory transactions. So as soon as you do a purchase order receipt, sales sees that inventory as available inventory. As soon as you do a report is finished in production, MRP knows that we've got that inventory on hand and we don't actually need to plan against that. So over the last few years, Microsoft has also introduced a number of features that put it on that tier 1 competitive landscape. So we have GS1 barcode support, so you can scan a barcode and we can parse out the PO number, the item ID, the batch ID, etc. We support cross-docking, so instead of having orders being released and someone having to put the inventory away and then go pick it again, we can immediately just take it from a receiving area and ship it to the customer. We have our own material handling equipment interface module, so we can actually integrate with any kind of conveyors or scales or carousels, pick sorters, all those kind of things. There also is outbound sorting, so that gives you the ability to have multiple people pick orders, drop that inventory off at a sorting location, and then someone can actually build a pallet ready to ship it to the customer. We also support FIFO and LIFO picking, so we can find either the oldest license plate or the first license plate that was created and actually go pick those for the next order, and system-directed cluster picking. So that means the system can actually generate a cluster for you based off some criteria and specify to a user, these are the next orders you need to go pick, and you need to place them in these positions, identifying those orders. All right. So some concepts I wanted to review, just because you're going to hear me say some of these terms in the demo today, is the first one's going to be the license plate. So what the license plate is the inventory dimension underneath a location, right? So one location could have one license plate or it could have many. But what that license plate really represents is a movable unit that we can actually put inventory on, move it between locations, take inventory off if necessary, right? So this could be in storage, or it could be while a user's actually moving the goods through the warehouse. The next thing is going to be the location profile. So this is the characteristics of a location, right? Do we allow mixed items, mixed inventory status? These are the weights and dims of that location, etc. And then also it's going to be the zone. So the zone is a grouping mechanism, right? We want to say that all these locations are our primary pick areas, or all these locations are our overflow area. That's how we can actually group that in the system and build that into the queries. The reservation logic is also a little bit more robust when you use advanced warehousing. So in the past, with reservations in AX 2012, if you weren't using advanced warehousing or 09, reservations would be at each individual dimension, right? Whereas now, when you use WMS, you have an order level reservation. So at minimum, it's going to be site, warehouse, and status. But what that lets you do is move your inventory in the warehouse, either replenishment movements or just actual general inventory movements. So you're not restricted to keep that inventory in one area. The next level is going to be when work is generated. So after we've actually released that to the warehouse, that's when we make an allocation to the location level. So what we can do is we can actually set the system up to allow users to still move that inventory and update corresponding work tickets. Otherwise, we lock it down to that location. The location directive itself is going to be the rule set about how you define your business processes. So what type of transaction are you processing? How many are you processing? And then where are you either moving the inventory to or taking the inventory from? The wave template is a way to group orders together. So you could have a rule set for replenishment tickets that are going to the specific healthcare facility, or we just want to process every individual order one at a time. The work template is going to be how we actually do that process, right? So maybe it's a simple pick put. We just get the inventory and we drop it off. But maybe it needs to be a little more complex. Maybe we need to get the inventory, drop it off at a staging location, pick it up from the staging location, and move it somewhere else. The RF configuration we've kind of already talked about a little bit, but just remember, it's flexible, configurable, and it can be set up user specific. And then the last detail in here is going to be the inventory status. So in previous platforms, what would happen is you'd have multiple warehouses that kind of specify, these are my available goods, these are my quarantine goods, etc. But now what you can do is you can set up the inventory status so you can see all your inventory within the four walls warehouse, but then specify some of this is available, some of this is quarantine, some of this is an inspection, etc. All right. I wanted to walk through a couple business process flows of what they could look like. So on the inbound side, when the goods actually arrive, we have a number of different ways that we can actually receive those goods. If we received an ASN from a vendor, we could receive against that license plate that was sent. We can build a pallet at the time of receiving using the mixed license plate receiving functionality. We can receive individual POs one at a time, or we could be cross-docking, right? So once we do that receipt, the WMS is then going to determine, where do we need to do our put away? Are we going to take this to a shipping location, or are we putting this away in some location for storage? The work will be generated, and then a user will actually begin that process. So that could be either going through a user-directed menu item or grouping, where they're scanning that license plate and then moving the goods, or it could be directed to them. So the system could be set up to tell them, this is the next license plate you need to do. Once the movement is done, the user will get to that location and actually can then verify the items, the quantity, the location, or even a check digit if necessary when they're doing that put away process. On the outbound side, what we can set up is that an order is going to be released, and there's a number of different ways that we can release an order. We could do them one at a time from the order itself. We could leverage the periodic batch job that can be set up with a query to say, these are the orders that we're releasing at this time. Or we can actually go through a load building process where someone's trying to build out a full truckload or something like that. Once that order is released, it's then going to be waived, and we're going to generate that work. So much the same as on the PO side, on the outbound side, when we go to pick the goods, we have a number of different ways that we can do that too. Could be a system-directed cluster picking process where the system's telling you which order you need to be processing next. It could be a batch pick, so we're picking up multiple orders to pick it at one time. Could be a discrete pick, so we're going to take one at a time and handle those individually. Could be picking by the zone, could be picking to a container, a lot of different ways to do that process. So once the inventory has been picked, we can either drop it off at a staging location, at a container packing location, or a final shipping location. All right. Some of the features, we've kind of already talked about, but I just wanted to review them just a little bit more in depth here. So on the inbound side, we can build pallets at the time of receiving. We can receive license plates if a vendor sends us an ASN. We also support customer returns receiving. On the put away side, we can do this through a user-directed process, system-directed process, or a grouping process where we're going to take multiple license plates at one time. All of this is integrated within the mobile device, and we can generate labels at the time of receiving too. On the outbound side, we can either do a discrete picking process, just doing one at a time. We can have a system-directed process where the system's telling us the next order to pick. We can cluster pick multiple orders at one time, so we're only doing one walk through the warehouse. We can cross-dock, we can containerize, so the system will tell us what containers we actually need to use for the next order, or we can go through the packing process and generate labels too. On the miscellaneous inventory side, we support simple location-to-location moves. We have our own slotting tool that can actually recommend where we need to move our inventory forward, move inventory out of those locations if they're becoming obsolete. We can also leverage item consolidation. So if one item's in multiple locations, we need to actually move it all into one. Multiple replenishment templates. And again, we could generate labels as we're going through that process. We also could change inventory status at any time. So if something's happened to some inventory and it's now damaged, we could change that so it's no longer sellable. We could process all of our receipts through the quality control system too. So we can actually perform a receipt, move it over to a quality area, complete those tests, and then be instructed to move those into a storage location. We could track all of this with labor standards, and there's also a lot of cycle count functionality. So we can either do individual inventory adjustments with their own offset accounts, or we could actually set up a cycle count plan counting these items every 30 days, 90 days, 180 days. Or we can leverage the threshold cycle counting process, where as soon as inventory goes below some value, we then count that location. All right. On the production side, just want to review some of these pieces one more time. So it supports discrete process and lean manufacturing, multiple ways to pick the raw materials. multiple ways to allocate the inventory and move that inventory to a specific resource if necessary. We can do full pallet moves, and we also can report as finished within the mobile device, do the put away process or cross-docking process, and then even end the order within the mobile device too. So John, I'll pass over to you if you want to describe our first scenario.
Sure. Thanks, James. So, guys, this is near and dear to me as this was my life for several years. I ran a large 3PL that served multiple hospitals and different healthcare centers in northern Michigan. So what we're going to see in the first scenario is starting with demand. And in this case, we're going to model it as demand that's coming from different floors in a hospital. But this could be, dialysis clinics or labs or cancer centers or assisted living facilities. These were all the areas that I resupplied with materials on a daily basis, and in some cases more than once a day. And what we want to accomplish with this is really showing you how you as warehouse management professionals would be serving your customers. So some of them are going to order in smaller quantities, some in larger quantities. It was very common in my scenario to deliver full pallets of things like toilet paper to storage areas in hospitals, as well as boxes of bandages and boxes of gauze. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is show how Dynamics supply chain management supports different methodologies in the warehouse. And it makes the warehouse more efficient, and it allows you to serve the customers in the best way. So James is going to talk about cluster picking. He's going to talk about case picking. And then for some of those larger movements, basically full pallet picking, or what I would consider a bulk material movement. So James, I'll throw it back over to you for the demonstration.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So let me jump into Dynamics. So what I have here is going to be a sales order. And we've kind of built out this scenario so that when we actually ship this order, we're going to expect revenue at that time, right? So we have a customer order that's been placed. They've told us the goods that they need. They've told us the total quantities of each of those, and they've also told us where to ship them. And what I mean by that is not just the address level itself, but the actual floor in the hospital that the goods are going to go to. So you can see on this order here, I've got multiple lines that are going to go to the first floor, multiple lines that are going to go to the second floor, and then multiple lines that are going to go to the third floor. So when we actually go through the release to warehouse process, what the system can identify is that all these orders are going to be for the same customer, going to the same address, but just going to different floors. So what we can do is we can generate a load that represents the actual entire shipment of goods that are going there, but then we can make individual shipments for each of the floors that we can then now pick together. So if I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this tab up here, and I'm going to go ahead and go into another form. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm actually going to show you that load that was generated. So if I go into my warehouse management module, and I go into my all load form right here, we can see we have a new load right here at the very bottom that's just been waived. To open up that load, we can look at the details of what's actually on that. So you can see here it's all tied to our order number. You can see here that we now have 3 shipments because we have 3 different shipping locations technically based on the floors, and all the items that are actually on that order as well. So if I look at the actual work details for how the system actually generate, the movements of those goods, we can see that the system's gone through and split this based on a number of criteria. So you can see I've got some different work pools that really represent the containers that were used to process this. So these 3 down here, we're already in a shippable unit quantity, already in a shippable unit package, so we don't need to containerize it. So what the system did is it just took that case and the actual dimensions and weights of the case for that item and used that as a shippable unit. These next 2 here, or these next 2 at the top, what the system found is that we didn't have any shippable units. We had a bunch of eaches that actually needed to be processed. So it went through, reviewed all the containers that we have within the system, found the best container to use based on these items, their weights, and their dimensions. And this last one here, what the system found was that this was a full pallet pick. So again, we don't really need to containerize this because this is already ready for processing. So if I open up my mobile device right here, again, this is completely configurable, so you can build this out however you want. what I've done is I've set up an outbound menu item that I'm going to process these orders in. So if I go into my outbound menu item, I've got a number of different options for how I'm going to be picking the orders. So what I've done today is I've set up all of the sales order process to be completely directed by the system. So when I go into my case pick process, the system's actually going to allocate those case picks directly to me, and then I'm going to start processing those picks. So if we go into here, you can see the system's already allocated some work to my user. If I go back into Dynamics and just refresh this form, oops, sorry, I clicked the wrong button. And do that one more time. You can see how this has already allocated all those picks to my user, number 63, and it's generated a target license plate for each of those. So when I'm going through the picking process, I can set up a number of different verifications. I can verify the item, the location, the quantity, the actual unit. But what I'm going to do just to make the picking process a little faster is just actually complete these picks. So for this first one, it's instructing me to go to my bulk 01 location. I'm going to go ahead and pick those goods. It's then asking me to place that in our first position, which identifies that first order. So I'm going to go ahead and verify that I put that in position 1. So the positions themselves, they could be a number on a cart, or it could be a letter, or it actually could be a license plate. Maybe you're putting these in a tote or something like that, that you actually want to verify and scan to make sure it's going in the right box. I'm going to go ahead and now pick my second item that's in our bulk 04 location. So you can also see how this is directing me through the warehouse in a serpentine pick manner, so I don't actually have to go do one order at a time and go back to the next location. So this one's going to go into position 3. And then this last one here is in my bulk 05 location. I'm going to verify that pick, and it's telling me to put that in position 2. All right. So now that I've done all the picks, it's asking me to drop those off at a shipping location. So you can see I'm going to be dropping these off in our bay door. Once that's completed, all those work tickets are now actually finished and no longer need to be processed because I've already moved all the goods into a shipping location. So I'm going to repeat that process, but basically just for the other picks. So I'm going to go into my mix box pick, and if I refresh this form here, you can see how that's now picking up our large and small picks. I'm going to go ahead and verify that, yep, I'm picking this item for a total of 6 pieces. But now one thing that you will note is that 6 pieces isn't on any of these work tickets. It's actually a total across a couple. So when I do this pick for 6, it's then going to tell me to place 4 in the first position. So I'm going to go ahead and verify that. And I'm going to go ahead and place the next 2 in the second position because that satisfies both of those containers. All right, after that, we then are going to go to our next location. We're going to pick a total of 2 pieces. We're going to place that in our first position for the first box. And in our last pick right here, we're going to our 05 location for 1 piece. We're going to place that in our second position. All right. Now, once that pick's done, those work tickets are also closed. And now what we need to do is just complete the pallet pick. Now, what's really nice about splitting these up into different menu items, that means multiple people can be picking this one order at the same time. So I could have been picking cases, Alex could have been picking all of the individual boxes, and then John could have been picking the pallet. And maybe John is the only one that's certified to actually use a forklift or something like that. So he might be the only one that actually sees this menu item when he's going through the picking process. So you can see how the system's telling me to go to my bulk 03 location, pick a full pallet of our paper towel item. So I'm going to go ahead and pick all those, and I'm going to drop them off at my bay door. So if I go back to my work now, you can see all the individual work tickets are closed. I reopen the load right here. You can see that the load itself is in a loaded status because we've completed all the picks. We're now actually ready to ship this. So what I can do is, as a supervisor, if I have access into the UI, I can go and confirm that shipment. I can also go ahead and generate a packing slip. Now, what this is going to do is actually generate 3 packing slips, 1 for each of the floors, so that we could actually place those in the boxes if we wanted to. You also could generate, different labels at the time of actually picking the goods that would serve the same purpose if you wanted. So we'll give that a second to run, and that's going to actually produce those 3 packing slips so you can see that detail. Give that a second. All right. So this is our first packing slip right here. So you can see this is for the first floor. This is our second one right here. You can see this is for the third floor. And then this is our last one, and it's going to be for the second floor. Now, what you also can do is you can generate a bill of lading. So as long as all the items have been set up with NMFC codes, we can actually generate this. So for any LCL order or full truckload order, we can generate this bill of lading. We can put in special notes, we can put in the SCAT codes, pro numbers, all that kind of detail. But then you can see how the system is calculating what's the total weight per NMFC code, what's the total units, etc. All right. Now, if I go back to my sales order, because this was a scenario where we actually wanted to invoice the order whenever it was actually shipping, what we were able to do is process that order in total, generate a packing slip for the order. We can have a periodic batch job that's actually running, trying to pick up orders as they ship and actually go and process that invoice. So if I refresh this system right here, you can see my order is actually updated to invoice. All the individual lines are updated to invoice as well. All right, that's our first scenario. I'm going to jump back into the PowerPoint. And then Don, will pass to you.
All right, great. So I appreciate that. Now let's step into the next phase of this. So we have our material on the way to the location. And what we want to do is, as those goods arrive at the facility, you want to be able to put them away. Now, these aren't people that are accustomed to, the rigors of a warehouse. So we have to take that into consideration. Ultimately, what we want to accomplish in this particular scenario is make sure, if you go ahead and click, that we're providing an easy and an intuitive way for staff members or associates to be able to receive these goods. So I can imagine that, in a lot of these locations, they wear so many hats during the day, right? You don't have a dedicated receiving person necessarily. For a larger facility, you may have a dock door area. For smaller facilities, you might receive goods in the front door. You might receive it at the back door. You might receive it into a kitchen location. But we need that capability to have a consistent process, reduce the paperwork, right? Let our people work on the activities that are most value driven for the organization. It still gives us the ability to keep an accurate count and an accurate representation of what was received at the facility. So what we've done for this scenario is the team's built out what's called a Power App. Now, if you're not familiar with Microsoft's full platform story, Dynamics 365 is really a full suite of business applications. We have multiple ERP offerings in finance and supply chain management, Business Central. We have CRM offerings in Dynamics 365 sales, customer service. We have a field service offering, a marketing offering, but this whole platform of business applications is supported by a set of tools that we call the Power Platform. Power Platform provides capabilities such as Power BI, which you may have heard of for reporting and analytics, Power Automate, which is necessary often when you're building a Power App and integrating to other tools. But Power Automate provides you the ability to make automated flows and activities based on triggers. You can also do robotic process automation. But the Power App itself is a low-code business application. This is something that you develop in days or weeks, oftentimes, versus weeks or months and years. And ultimately, what we're using it for, again, is to help us create a simplified entry screen, reduce paperwork, and standardize on a process. And we're not having to go and customize a larger ERP product or force our users to jump into an ERP screen where they might be less comfortable. So we get rapid deployment, fast time to value, and easy adoption by the users. So I think I'm handing to, is this James?
Yep. So I'll start this one. Yep.
Okay.
So we'll jump back into the system. So what you could do is you can actually manage orders in a number of different ways, right? So let's say hypothetically you're either a 3PL that's satisfying orders for some facility. You have inventory visibility to what's on hand. You're getting updates as they consume inventory. Or this might just be a hospital or healthcare facility that's within your actual platform, right? So maybe you have a central DC that's going to replenish those as they go below some kind of minimum. So what I've set up today is that we have some items that need to actually go to another facility, and they've gone below a minimum inventory value. So when MRP runs at night, or however often you need to run it throughout the day if you're using planning optimization or DDMRP, the system can make recommendations that this is the next transfer we need to send out there. So you can see the system's generated these planned transfers. They're going to go from our main DC to the one that Alex will actually be operating in. So we can see that we've got 4 items, and this is the inventory that needs to be sent. So what I can do is I can review all the net requirements for these items. I can see what's pegged to these supply sources. But what I'm going to do is just go ahead and firm these up. When I go through the firming process, I can group that however I want. So by day, by week, by month. These are all pretty much going to ship on the same day. They're all going to get grouped together into one transfer order. So I'm going to go ahead and let that process. And then I'm going to go into my inventory management module and look at the transfer orders that have been created. So we see we have a new transfer order down here. It was all grouped together, so all 4 lines are going to be on one transfer. I'm going to go through that same release to warehouse process where we can do it by order. But again, there's a periodic job for this, or we could actually try to build out loads if we're looking at multiple transfers that are going to one facility. So if I go into here and I go into my load details, we can see that all 4 lines are on this load. We've generated work for all 4 lines. If I actually look at the work details, what the system has done this time, we didn't containerize it, but we just broke the pallet picks from all the individual case picks. So you can see it down here. We've got a pick for 10 cases, 6 cases, 10 cases. But then on this line right here, we're going to be picking a full pallet by itself. So if I go back into my mobile device, I've set up specific menu items for this process too. At any point, you can actually assign multiple types of transactions to one menu item. So if you wanted actually just a single pallet pick menu item and sales orders and transfers could be processed in there, you actually could just group those. I've separated them out just for the demo. So for the first one here, we're going to go into our transfer pick pallets. And so you can see how the system's allocated the first work ticket to my user. It's instructing us to go to our bulk 03 location. So you can see that it matches what's over here. And we're going to pick 1 pallet. So I'm going to go ahead and verify that pick. I'm going to drop it off at my bay door. All right. Now at the same time, another user could be actually picking all the cases. So I'm going to go to my transfer pick menu item, and I'm going to start picking all the individual cases. So you can see I've got my 10 cases here for A0001. I'm going to go ahead and verify that pick. I've got my 6 cases for the next item, go into the next location. I'm going to verify that pick. And then lastly, I've got my 10 cases in the last location. Once I verify that pick, I'm going to drop all those off at the same bay door location. Now, the one thing that we also want to point out here too is that what we can do, whether it be transfer orders or sales orders, to the user, they're just picking outbound orders, right? So we can standardize our business processes so everybody's doing the same thing over and over. That's also true when we go to actually ship this order too. So the user can go to the actual load, can verify the actual load status, and then can go ahead and confirm shipment. Generate a bill of lading if necessary. But essentially what happens here is that transfer order now has shipped those goods. It's in transit to the other facility. So if I actually go back to my individual order, you'll see that this transfer has now shipped. I want to go ahead and pass to Alex.
Awesome. Thanks, James. So want to kind of take that scenario forward into what happens at one of your business locations. Maybe it's a hospital or a clinic who then needs to receive that transfer, or as James had mentioned, potentially just a sales order that had been picked by a vendor and sent along to one of these locations. And to his earlier point, it doesn't matter to our end user why it's come to that location. It just matters that they expect to receive it and that they can bring it into inventory. And so as Don had introduced, here we can use the Power Platform technology, specifically Power Apps, to really simplify this experience for your end users. So you don't need warehouse staff at every single location necessarily. And it also gives you the ability, let's say within a hospital system, to get really specific with how you're managing your inventory, potentially down to a storeroom on a particular floor or ward within that hospital. So here using the Power App, I can log in using an employee ID, or we can scan in with an employee badge, depending on your process. Once I'm in, this application's giving me the simple options of either receiving supplies or consuming supplies, which we'll talk about in just a moment here. But first, let's talk about the receipt of that transfer order that James recently teed up. So here we can see transfer order number 307. So this application easily connects directly to Dynamics 365. It allows our users on site visibility into these transfer orders, potentially into purchase orders in products that are coming in as well, and they can simply note and count exactly what's coming in on those particular orders. So if maybe it was short picked, we can let the system know that we actually received less inventory than expected for that particular order. And we can make those modifications as we go through this receiving process. So here with a few simple clicks, I can specify exactly what was received and receive that into our inventory. So this is going to give you a really real-time visibility into how your inventory is moving in and out of your various locations. And as we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, how you can then start to consume that inventory to have an understanding of when you need to replenish.
All right, so let's finish up, our scenario here with scenario 3. And now that we've got material on hand, I imagine that in your organization, like so many others, you face some challenges on keeping track of the inventory that's going into a facility or that's being consumed. It can create a burden of paperwork and process, again, that keeps the associates or the team members from getting to the really meaningful things. And we want to be able to accomplish, if you can go ahead and click, some simple goals of continuing that easy, intuitive way for staff members to consume that material by digitizing this process and being able to align maybe some important things like charge codes. We're going to get a better handle on where our inventory is, how we need to charge those things out. It can help us tie to the triggers for resupply. So, I need to keep a minimum quantity on hand here. And when I drop below that, the system knows, get another set of materials coming. And again, we're using the Power App to do this, to support that quick, comfortable application. And all of this is integrated to the back-end system. And you can expand or extend these applications to do more. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be just about ordering. You could put information in here for putting in a requisition for materials, a manual requisition, if you will. You could have lookup information, look up and see if I have some stock of a particular item. Power Apps are very powerful. Again, let's do the activities that are important in a low-code way, without having to spend a lot of time and money configuring or customizing a larger product. So Alex, if you want to finish up that.
Yeah, great. And I think that's a great point, Don. We can do a lot with these applications. And we're showing a few kind of simple use cases here, but what we've actually created applications around purchase requisition and the following approval process, as well as inventory queries and transfers and other capabilities as well. So you can do a lot more and kind of create a hub of applications to support those users who may not live and breathe within your ERP system. So back in our Power Apps application here, we'll go through our consumption side of this application as well. So here within my material consumption side of my app, I have the ability to go and quickly and easily select items that I want to consume out of our storeroom or inventory location. I can easily scale up the quantities that I'm going to be taking and using here. I also have the ability to scan these out. So if we wanted to create more of a shopping self-check type of experience, or even have a barcoding handheld within the storeroom to easily walk through and select the inventory that you want to consume, we can support those scenarios as well. So I've got a barcode here that we can read, which will pull in my face masks, and then I have the ability to check this out, which ultimately can consume that inventory in near real time, and then we can actually associate this to particular charge codes. So if we want to go and then charge this to a certain bed or a certain patient or another code for that expense, we can confirm that here, or we can maintain existing processes, capturing that real-time inventory without disrupting other activities downstream.
Awesome. So to wrap things up, I want to take a couple minutes and let's just recap what we saw. So we utilize the supply chain and the warehouse management capabilities in Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management, the broader ERP product, to support these healthcare facilities. It's really important for organizations to be able to be very nimble and efficient, or flexible in how you can provide the materials out to the different types of facilities that can be within your ecosystem, right? So the warehouse management module is very powerful. It gives you a lot of ways that you can pick goods and give you that accuracy and quickly get the goods out. Like John was saying, even if you've got to do it multiple times a day, or you're supplying a route, if you will, on a regular basis. The power apps that we utilized in scenario 2 and 3 were really about giving the associates on the other end that are receiving and consuming these an easy way to work with the product, not only to maintain the right inventory, but to easy checkout, easy charge code, and give them time back in their day. That's what Power Platform is all about. It's all about proper extension, usability, and easy adoption in an organization. The last topic that I like to cover, if we could go ahead and advance, is to spend a few minutes talking about what we call Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management Warehouse Only Mode. Okay, so the product that you saw today, you may have noticed some of the menu options on the left-hand side, meaning all of the modules that come with an ERP. And there are times when an organization really is only needing the warehouse piece of it. We've seen this a lot in healthcare. So some organizations have already made the move to the cloud, and they've done it in their finance capabilities, or maybe their finance and HR. It's as an early phase, or it was their first step to digital transformation. Others may want to tackle the warehouse or the supply chain side of things first, get the efficiencies and the value that are there, knowing that finance and HR will come later, and that's great. Even more may have multiple ERPs across their various business groups or legal entities, and they're looking for that consistent tool that they can apply from a supply chain side of things, to adapt across the business, to give some uniformity to process, to get some control and visibility into inventory, and maybe even tie that back to some better purchasing capabilities by streamlining purchasing for a larger group. So there's a lot of reasons that you might want to deploy warehouse only mode, and our product team heard that. So what they worked on is coming up with a capability to decouple our warehouse management product and stand it up on its own. You get the same great capabilities that James was talking about around inventory management, all our inbound and outbound processes, being able to feather in the different types of warehouse picking operations. So all of it's there. Visibility into your labor. It's there as part of this warehouse only mode. If you can advance the slide. And what you're essentially going to have is, whether or not it's Microsoft's ERP product or not, you can deploy warehouse only mode so that it connects to another ERP system, or a mothership ERP system, if you will, It could connect to ordering hubs like OMS systems, like our intelligent order management system or another OMS system, where I'm feeding that warehouse product what goods I need to pull. And it can also have integrations into other systems. It can be material handling equipment in the warehouse where I'm using robotics. It could be integrations to carriers out there that are moving my goods from place to place, and I'm keeping track of my rates and my freight costs and things like that. So this is going to be a very powerful offering for us. It's currently in what we call preview mode, with a GA date expected, probably in FY24, but it's out there and available for customers to test. But again, that's the same great capabilities that you'd see in the full-on ERP offering. So we're excited about this coming out and think it can very much be a benefit to our healthcare industry customers. And if you want to learn more about this, there's a few links here that you can click on and go read about our activities as it relates to putting this thing out to market. James?
Yeah, I think that's our presentation today. So if there's any questions or comments, we can answer those now. If not, thank you for your time. Hope you appreciated or enjoyed our session.
James, I know there was one question earlier around some of the differences from a capabilities perspective between the Business Central product and between the finance and supply chain. I don't know if at a high level you want to shed any light on kind of some of the core differences, or maybe that's a topic that would be best to follow up on personally.
Yeah, no, I think follow up would be great there. Just note, BC does have inventory management capabilities. It can pick orders, transfers, it can move materials with transfer journals and things like that. But what it is lacking is kind of that tier one WMS capabilities. So the query-based rule sets, the intelligence about splitting pallet picks from case picks, system-directed cluster picking, cross-docking. Actually, apologies, there is some cross-docking functionality, but a lot of that tier one WMS requirements, those are not within BC. There are some ISV solutions that have expanded the platform, but it's still just a little bit below what the F&O toolset has. Okay. Any other questions or comments? No problem.
I think that's the only one I saw on this, Will, if any others came through the Q&A tab.
Don't see anything. I think we're all good.
All right. All right. Thank you for your time today, guys.